Hi, this is Richard Keep, one of the technical trainers at Firebrand Training in the UK. In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to create a private network that your virtual machines can use to access the internet. It's a question I often get asked by students: is how do you set up a lab environment when you use Microsoft courseware? Generally the virtual machines are isolated, or the virtual machines connect to the internet via a threat management gateway, a TMG server. Well, there's no need for you to deploy a TMG server in your own lab environment. You can do this quite simply just using Hyper-V virtual switches and a machine running the routing and remote access service. So in my lab environment here, I have created, to begin with, two virtual switches. One called Internet, which is connected to my home network, so via a physical network adapter in my host machine. The internet switch there is connected via that connection to my home network, and a second network called VM network, which is a private network to which I'm going to connect all the virtual machines that I'm going to use in my lab environment. If I look at my domain controller, which is a machine running server 2016, you'll see that currently has a network connection just connected to that VM network. And my member server, which I'm going to use as my NAT server, my gateway to the internet, is connected to both the VM network so that my other machines can communicate with it, but also has a network connection connected into my home network, my internet connection. So if we now connect into the member server, you'll see from Server Manager that this machine has two network connections. So my home network is using the 192.168.0 network, and this machine is currently using a static address of 192.168.0.200. But equally, that could be using a dynamically assigned address, which my home router is assigned to it. My VMs are all going to be configured to use the 10.0.0 network, and this machine is going to act as their default gateway. So the default gateway address that I'm going to hand out to all virtual machines is going to be 10.0.0.1. This machine has had the root and remote access feature installed on it. So if I just quickly fire up PowerShell for you and say I want to look at all Windows features which are currently installed, that will enumerate the currently installed features on MEM01. And you'll see that I've already added the Windows routing and remote access feature. So there we see a list of the installed features on this machine, and the remote access is configured along with routing. Now the little exclamation mark there in Server Manager tell me there's some post setup configuration to do. I'm going to manually do that configuration by selecting the routing and remote access console. And this console hasn't really changed a great deal since the days of Windows 2000. So I'm just going to right click it there and select Configure and Enable Routing and Remote Access. Now you would think that the next step would be to choose network address translation, as it's network address translation I'm configuring. However, I'm performing network address translation between two private networks. The NAT wizard, this option here, if I were to choose it, expects to find a network adapter with at least one public IP address. Now I don't have a network adapter in my lab environment with a public IP address, so instead I'm going to choose a custom configuration at the bottom, and I'm going to choose network address translation. I'm going to start the routing and remote access service. And once that service is up and running, if I just expand the server and look at under IPv4, you'll see the NAT protocol has been added to this server. I'm going to say I want to associate NAT with my internet interface, and I'm going to say that is the public interface connected to the internet, and I want to enable NAT on that interface. I'm then going to right click again and say I want to select another interface, and this is going to be my VM network interface, and that's going to be my private interface connected to the private network. And that's all you have to do. So if I now go back to one of my virtual machines and load up Internet Explorer, if I visit a web page, as in bing.com, you'll see my machine now has access to the internet and if I type ipconfig, you'll see I'm using a static address of 10.0.0.10 and I'm routing my traffic to the address 10.0.0.1. I hope that's been helpful for you. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to add them in the comments below.